Welcome to our tutorial on fundamental concepts of data connectivity and transformation. Today we will load data in Power BI from various sources such as files and servers and web pages. And then we will attempt to transform that data using Power Query. And in the Power Query, we will add missing data. We will change data types. We will add columns. We will merge columns. We will remove columns, and we will add calculated columns, conditional columns, and so on. And we will learn the concepts of data connectivity and transformation using Power Query and M language in Power BI. So let's go ahead and start our today's video. Power BI is a tool to visualize and analyze the data. However, to visualize and analyze the data, we need the data itself. And this is done through data connectivity. Data connectivity is the process of establishing a connection between Power BI and the various sources where your data resides. Power BI is incredibly versatile in this regard, capable of connecting to a vast array of data sources. These can be broadly categorized as files, databases, and online services. You can also connect to web pages using Power BI data connectivity. Most commonly used files are Excel files, CSV files, and folders where you can keep a large number of files and can connect directly to them. In databases, we mostly connect to SQL Server and similar databases. And in other sources, we can connect to web pages. To connect to a data source, first we need a data connector. These are all connectors. To connect to a Excel file, we need Excel connector. And when we select a connector, then we must provide some other details such as username, password, etc. This is called authentication. Not all files require authentication, but mostly databases such as SQL Server require authentication. Other information that you may need to provide while connecting to a data source includes URL, IP address, name of the database, etc. Once the connection is established, Power BI can see the data within that source. However, this raw data may not be in the ideal shape for analysis and visualization. This is where the second part comes in, and that is the data transformation. Data transformation is the process of cleaning, shaping, and restructuring the data to make it suitable for analysis and visualization in Power BI. So today we will connect to various data sources and perform transformation as well. So first of all, we will connect to a CSV file, and for that we need a CSV connector. So let's go to the file section, and here we have a connector that can connect to a text file or CSV file. So let's select this connector and click on the connect button. And since this connector can connect to CSV files and text files, we can see both files in open window. So let's select the CSV file and click on the open button. Now we have the preview of our CSV file. And here we can select some important information such as the delimiter, which is used to split information into columns. So our CSV file is using comma, and the system is automatically detecting the delimiter, and it has already selected the comma as delimiter. So now we can simply load this information in Power BI, or if we want to perform some modifications, we can select the transform data. And since this information needs some transformation, such as missing values, so we have to click on the transform data, and it will take us to the Power Query editor. In Power BI, Power Query editor is used to transform the data, which uses M language. Transformation is done in steps. We can delete steps and add new steps, and also modify existing steps. After loading the data into the Power Query editor, the first important thing is to look for the columns which contain dates. So these columns must have the date data type. if they have any other data type, you may have problem analyzing the data or displaying that information on visuals later. So first we must correct this issue and change the data type of these columns to dates. Then we must make sure that number columns have the proper data types. So this is a quantity column and there are no decimal values. So it should have a whole number data type. And this is a price per unit which may contain decimal values. It should have decimal number as data type. Discount applied also contains decimal numbers, so it also should have a decimal number data type. So all columns having numbers must have proper data types, especially when calculations are expected on those columns. For example, if this column has other than numeric data type, for example, text or date, you may have problem performing various calculations on this column later. Now we must look for missing values and replace those values with the accurate value. So we have a missing value here, price per unit of product PCD007. So this product has a price of 30 per unit. So we will replace values where value is null with 30 and click on the OK button. We had only one missing value, so we have easily replaced that value with the accurate value. However, if there are more than one missing values, we may have to use a complex method of replacing those values. So suppose this is the case where you have multiple missing values. So if you use this simple method, all values will be replaced with this value. So instead of replacing all values with 30, we must replace a specific value based on a specific condition. And we can use product code in case of price per unit because each product code has the same price per unit. So what we will do here is that first we will change this null into each price per unit. So now it will change all values into 30. But we can also use here each price per unit. And this will again change the values into their original data, including the null value. So we must use if condition here to change the null value into the proper value. So we will use if here with product code, and if the product code is equal to PCD007, then the value should be 30. Else, the value should be what was originally in the price per unit. So let's click on the OK button. And now we have all values from the product per unit in their original form except this value which has been changed into 30. But this time, this value has been changed through a proper way. And if any other value is missing, that value will not be changed into 30, but only this value will be changed into 30. So through this way, we can reduce the risk of replacing missing values with false information. So now we have also replaced the missing values with proper values. Now we have the price per unit and we have the value of discount applied and quantity, but we do not have the total sales amount. And we can get the total sales amount by creating a calculated column. So we can go to the add column and click on the custom column, and here we can enter a name, for example, total sales amount. And in the formula here, we can uh, use the quantity column and multiply that by the price per unit. Now we have the sales amount, but we also need to exclude the discount applied. And for that, we can multiply this amount by the 1 minus discount applied. And now we have the formula for total sales amount. So if there is an error in this formula that we have entered here, then here we will have a cross. But the tick shows that the formula has no errors. So let's click on the OK button. And now we have the total sales amount in our table as well. We can also add conditional columns. For example, let's click on the conditional column, and in the name, let's enter delivery status. So first we must select the column which should meet a certain condition. So let's select the shipping status, ship status, and if this equals shipped, then the delivery status should display on time, and else let's remove this one because we can use else here. Else the delivery status should show delayed. Let's click on the OK button, and now we have a delivery status column which shows if the delivery is on time or delayed, and that is based on the ship status which shows shipped, processing, pending, etc. So if the ship status shows shipped, the delivery status shows on time, otherwise it shows delayed. We may also want to rename some columns, which we can do by right clicking on the column and clicking on the rename, and then changing the title into whatever we want. So let's change this to customer ID and click on the enter button. And as you can see, another step has been added which says renamed column. If we delete this step, this will change back to customer reference. We can also split columns. For example, in the transaction ID, we have transaction type, which is represented by the first character, and then we have the transaction sequence represented by the number followed by the transaction type. So we can right click on this column and click on the split column. Then we can split this column by delimiter, number of characters, position, lowercase, uppercase, and by digit to non-digit and non-digit to digit. So here in this case, we can split this column by number of characters. So let's click on number of characters, and then we will enter 1 here and select ones as far left as possible, and then click on the OK button. So now we have transaction ID1 and transaction ID2. Uh, let's change the transaction ID1 to transaction type and transaction ID2 to transaction sequence. Now we have transformed the sales transaction data, and we can go ahead and click on the close and apply button. This will load the data into the data pane right here, which can be used in data analysis and visualization. Now we have another file which is Excel file. So we can load the Excel file directly from here by clicking on the Excel workbook, or we can go to the get data and click here, or we can go to the get data window, and from the files we can click Excel workbook and click on the connect button. Then we can select the Excel file which we want to load and click on the open button. And since we want to transform the data, we can click on the transform data. This is the navigator window which provides the preview of the Excel file, And from this list here, we can select the table that we want to load into the Power BI. So, as I have already mentioned that you can directly load this data into the Power BI by clicking on the load button, but we want to transform the data, so we will use the transform data button instead. But if you have already clicked on the load button and the data has been loaded, you can still go to the data pane, right click on the table and go to the Power Query window and transform the data. So let's click on the transform data, and this will open up the Power Query window again where we can transform the data using the M language. So again, we have dates here. So let's see. We have the data type date, which is accurate, and there are no missing values as well. So next we have the full name column, which we want to split into first name and the last name. So let's click on the column and select split column, and then by delimiter we can split this data into two columns. And the delimiter is space, which has automatically been recognized, and we must select the leftmost delimiter. So if the space it has occurred multiple times, the only the first space will be chosen as the delimiter. So let's click on the OK button, and now we have two columns with the name of first name 1 and first name 2. And as you can see, Bob has been split as first name, and the builder, although it also has a space, it is still combined and it is not split into a third column. So let's change this into first name and this into last name. We can still combine these columns into full name by adding a new column. So let's add a full name column and use the first name and the last name, and click on the OK button. So we have the full name again, where we have first name and the second name combined into one column. Then after we are done with the transformation, we can go to the Home tab and click on the Close and Apply button, and this data will be loaded into the Power BI data pane, from where we can use this data in our reports. So our next data source is a JSON file, which we can connect to using the get data, and we can go into more, and in the file we can select JSON and click on the connect button. Here is our product catalog. Let's select this file, click on the open button, and we are straight into the Power Query window where we can transform this data. So the first thing that we can observe here is that all column names are in small characters, lowercase characters. So let's change this into product code, and then so now we have proper column names. And we do not need the last updated column. We can remove this column, and we can check whether data types are accurate or not. So this should be decimal and this should be whole number. And everything else is fine. So let's close and apply. And now we have another table in our data pane. And now we have a text file to load. So let's go to the get data and click on more. And in the file, let's select text and CSV and click on the connect button. This time we will load the text file, which is regional sales targets. Let's click on the open button, and the tab delimiter has been chosen automatically and by the look of the table, It seems accurate. Let's click on the transform data, and now we are in the Power Query window. So this is a small table. So let's check if the format is right. So this is uh, formatted as whole amount, which seems accurate. This shows that the targets are for quarter 1, but year is missing. So let's add a column and let's call it year, and let's enter 2025 here and click on the OK button. Now we have year 2025 in our table as well. So no other transformation is required in this table. So let's go to the Home tab and click on the Close and Apply button. And now we have this table in our data pane as well. So till now we have loaded data from files. Now we are going to load data from a server. So we have a SQL server on this computer which we are going to use for our data source. So let's go to the database and select SQL Server database and click on the connect button. And in the server uh, box, we will enter the address of our server. So this is our server address. Let's copy this and go to the Power BI and paste here. Then we have to enter the database name, which is CTM. So let's enter CTM. We can use one of these two connectivity modes. Import mode is for static data type. Uh, if you want to refresh your data, you can click on the refresh button here, and this will update your information. In case of direct query, you can update your data automatically uh, on a specific interval. So since we are going to import static data, we will use the import connectivity mode and click on the OK button. Now we have the SQL Server database window where we have to provide the authentication information. And since this server is set up on the same computer, we can use the Windows authentication. Otherwise, we would have to use the username and password here. So let's select the my current credentials and click on the connect button. And on the navigator window, we must select the table that we are going to use to load data in the Power BI. So let's click on the transform data, and here is our table. So let's select this higher date column and check its data type. Everything else looks fine. So let's click on the close and apply button. And now this table has also been loaded into the data pane. And now that we have loaded data from files and servers, finally we are going to load data from a web page. So this is our web page, and this is the table that we are going to load into our Power BI data pane. So let's copy this URL and go to Power BI and click on the get data, and from other we will select web and click on the connect button. And here we will enter the URL and click on the OK button. The navigator window will display all the tables, and we have to select the table that we are going to load into the Power BI. So there are several tables, and this is the table that we are going to load. So let's click on this table and click on the transform data. So everything else is fine here, but the column names are all wrong. So what we are going to do here is that we will go to the transform or home button, and we will click on the use first row as headers. So this is now uh, corrected. And one more thing that we are going to do here is that we will add a new column, and uh, this will be the address, and we will combine all three columns. So let's use city and state province and country. So now we have city, state, and country in a single column named address. So this is the complete address of this location. And let's change this as well to cities or address. So let's go to the home and click on the close and apply button. And there you go. Now we have address table in our data pane as well. So today we learned the fundamental concepts of data connectivity and transformations, and we loaded data from various sources such as CSV, Excel files, JSON files, web, and SQL Server. And we use the Power Query to transform the data. And with that, we end our tutorial today. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching.